At the 23-minute mark, my mic just fully gives up on me, so at that point I switched to a voiceover format while just showing you pictures of what I'm talking about. New mic is now being purchased. Hello, just Gem here and welcome, or indeed welcome back to my channel. It's time for another new makeup releases. I'm not going to waffle because new video release videos can sometimes be a bit lengthy on account of there being a lot of new makeup releases, so let's get stuck in effectively. I'm going to shunt over to the side here as I normally do, and I will place a lovely image of whatever I'm talking about in this region here while I practice my Queen's Wave. The first product is something I was probably just going to entirely gloss over, and I'm going to lump these together. I'll start with the older one first, so this isn't even really that new anymore because there's a whole entire collection after it. But Jolie Beauty did these Festivault 9-pan palettes, 4 of them. Smoke Show, which is like a black and white kind of monochromatic, like a smoky palette. Imagine Beauty Base Smoky, but 9 pans of it, which they kind of already do. Distortion, which is like a brown neutral palette. Then you've got Hellfire, which I've put R here, so I'm going to say it's ready. I don't know why I don't just look at the pictures. I've got the pictures, that's the whole point. Yeah, so it's like a red toned fiery palette. And then you've got Cyberpunk, which is a colourful, like, what do you call those tones? It's just a very vibrant 9-pan palette, that's what I would say. With sometimes what I find with 9 pans is it can be difficult to have a complete, well-rounded colour story. I think these have just about managed it. I don't always get 9 pans. I was about to say 9 pans as small as I would go, but then I have got some 6 pans and some 4 pans which I really like. But generally I tend to go for maybe say 12 pans minimal, just because I think it gives you good variety. I saw these, I thought they were kind of cool. I've got no interest in the smoky one because I've got smoky. The neutral one, I can definitely dupe that with the neutral palettes that I do have now. The red one was probably the one that piqued my interest the most because it's got those really lovely purple tones in there as well. And then the colourful one, that wouldn't be the type of colours that I would want together. Like, I wouldn't even know where to begin when it comes to creating a look with that colourful 9-pan. And so they were $22.99, but I thought they were worth an honourable mention. But as I say, they're quite old at this point. And the only reason why I'm mentioning that and the next collection, so the next collection is the Ozzy Osbourne collection. I don't know if this is going to sound, how do I put this without sounding really morbid? Jolie Beauty's release of this collection was exceptionally well timed considering what has just occurred. I'm wondering if people now are purchasing this collection more so because Ozzy Osbourne is no longer with us. So there's this element of nostalgia and this collection being fresh, and you know, if you're an Ozzy Osbourne fan, it might sort of trigger something in your brain and you think to yourself, oh, actually, Jolie Beauty have just released that collection. Am I making any sense here? I just feel that from a marketing perspective, this sounds really bad, doesn't it? Because a man has died. But I hope you know the point I'm trying to make here. I just feel like this collection was released, and then not too long after, obviously, Ozzy Osbourne has passed away, and I just feel like maybe that could help boost sales. I'm a very cynical person. I am a very cynical person, and perhaps I'm looking at this with a very sort of cynical, and if I say cynical, it's not as if Jolie Beauty have bumped him off. Like I'm fully aware of that, but it's just the timing is, yeah. And it's a hefty collection, guys. This is not a small collection. There is a lot going on. If you want to buy the whole thing, the discounted price is 400 quid. 400 quid. And that includes the Osmosis palette, which I can't help but feel is perhaps a slightly elevated version of the Vampirism palette. You can let me know what you think, but I think they're very, very similar. And that's $44.99. Liquid lipsticks, $15.99 in Bloodbath, a deep metallic red, Nightmare, a slightly lighter metallic red, All Aboard, bronzy metallic brown, Fire in the Sky, black and metallic orange, some glosses, Centre Stage, hot amber to gold shift, and Lights Down, red to dark amber shift. Matte lips, $14.99, Sharon, a bold red, Voodoo Dancer, cool brown grey, Rock and Roll Rebel. See, I described this as a rust shade. The website described it as a neutral to cool brown. I don't know about that. And then Dreamer, a light neutral to cool brown. But I thought that I don't know if I necessarily agree with those descriptions. Liquid Shadows, $17.99. Walk of Fame, yellow gold with silver metallic shimmer. Black Rain, deep violet with silver reflect. Hellraiser, metallic red shimmer. Fire in the Sky, burnt orange. And then you've got brushes, $89.99. A mirror, $26.99. And a makeup bag, $64.99. So that's a chunky, a sizable collection. There's a lot in that. The mirror's kind of cool, I'd say, and I do like the aesthetic of those brushes. I just don't need any brushes. Ozzy Osbourne is not someone I'm a fan of, like Black Sabbath. It is Black Sabbath, isn't it? I mean, I know a few of their songs and like they're alright, but I was never an Ozzy Osbourne fan or a Black Sabbath fan, so there was nothing. If I was to get any of the collection, it would have been based solely on the product and not the link to Ozzy Osbourne. Having said that, I don't know if there's perhaps a bit of a markup to some of these products because it's Ozzy Osbourne. Like for example, that palette, $44.99. I don't think I've seen a palette more than $39.99 from Jolie Beauty. As a standalone, like forgetting that it is a collab with Ozzy Osbourne, would there be anything I would actually pick up? Possibly one of the red metallic lippies, and I'm curious about that burnt orange one, or blackened metallic orange. That could be quite cool, lined. Maybe out of curiosity I could pick that one up. And the palette, possibly because it's an elevated vampirism, like vampirism is nice. This is very similar but perhaps a bit nicer. So between the two I'd definitely pick up Osmosis. But yeah, I don't think there's anything in this collection I would go for, regardless of the collaboration aspect. R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne. Natasha Denona, £25 for the Mini Gloom. Mini Gloom. It's a nice. This is nice. I do quite like this, and it's odd because it's not necessarily the type of colour story I would gravitate towards, but it reminds me of. Now I'm looking at it, it reminds me a bit of is it mini retro it reminds me of? Hang on, let me have a look now. Yeah, it really reminds me of that. It's kind of like an extension to retro mini and retro glam. Like these shades, it wouldn't surprise me if these appeared in retro glam. So looking at these again now, I think I do prefer mini retro. Mini Gloom is almost a little bit too gloomy, I think, for me. I do like that green shimmer, but Together, I think if I made like a palette out of two of them together, I'd love that. That would be really nice. But then that would effectively be giving those vibes that retro glam has. And to be fair, I'm going to dig out my In Mel's memory bundle and see if Mel put in these shades. She may well have done. So I might be able to dupe this and mini retro with In Mel's memory. But that's probably going to be about £25 or £26. Natasha Denona Mini Gloom. CXC Beauty. They've got a new release, Dragon's Garden. Not too dissimilar colour story overall, as in it's got a greeny vibe, a pinky vibe, like a Japanese garden vibes. I need to stop using the word vibes. I use that word a lot. I probably overuse that word. Dragon's Garden. Now this is pretty. It's retro glam or In Mel's memory, but a bit more vibrant. And now I've just remembered I've got In Mel's memory. I'm going to have to dig it out and compare it to this, because this I'd put on my wish list as a yes, but it's a US based indie brand and shipping. I'm not willing to pay the shipping. The last couple of times I've got CXC Beauty palettes, well I've done it twice now. The first time I got it delivered to a friend because I was going on holiday and I was going to be staying with him, and the second time I got it delivered to a friend who was coming to visit me. So it would have to coincide with either me going to the States or someone else coming to visit me from the States. But this could be on my list, providing it's not too similar to In Mel's memory. I have a feeling this will be more vibrant, but this is pretty. Do I need more green eyeshadow? No, I mean I don't need any more eyeshadow, full stop. But in particular, do I need any green? Actually, I should compare it to Botanical too. I bought Botanical, I haven't even swatched that yet. I bought that just before my mum got ill, so I haven't had a chance to dip into that. I'll pull out Botanical. Between Botanical and In Mel's memory, I might be able to dupe this. Having said that though, they've updated their formula, but it still performs really well. So what I've noticed from using Vault of Olympus is that the shadows are really dry, really dry, to the point where you can feel it when you're applying. Having said that, they do not budge and they do not crease. So the dryness is a small price to pay considering how well they last. But Anthony's saying that he's updated the formula so that they perform in the same way but just aren't quite as dry. So I'm intrigued. As I say, it's on my wish list. You know, got to go through that list and see what other palettes I have that could possibly dupe this. And if I feel it's different enough, it's going to have to coincide with a trip, because I refuse to pay the shipping from the States. I'm not doing it. And I can't remember if I said £48, but there are 15% off vouchers knocking about. I think even CXC 15 gives you 15% off. Bonfire Glaminatrix Cosmetics. This is £45. Tones of Turd was one that originally I thought I might get, but then once I really looked at the colour story, I realised it had a lot of those grungy and murky tones that I'm not always a fan of. So I wasn't really willing to spend the money on that palette for a colour story that I wasn't 100% invested in. Bonfire has all the things about Tones of Turd that I do like and none of the things I dislike. However, I saw Newport use it. She did her first impressions video, and she's fantastic. She's got skills. She knows what she's doing, and even she had a bit of difficulty using that burgundy shade in the palette, especially. And I would say I know what I'm doing. I can finesse shadows now, but I don't know if I want to risk paying £45 for a £12 palette for shadows that I might possibly struggle to work with. And when I looked at it, I realised that it's a very autumnal, Halloweeny vibe. I said vibe again. I said vibe. I should get a swear jar, and every time I say the word vibe, I should put £1 in there. But it's got that feel to it. And then it made me think about the fact that I've been eyeing Tales of Terror / Spooked. So Tales of Terror is Wicked Widow Beauty and Spooked is Gourmand Girls. And I think it's similar to those, and I feel more comfortable with that formula, because Newport just mentioned that the formula in this, I think this is a lab-made palette. Plus, they've gone from the smaller, I think 22ml pans back up to 26ml pans. So if you've been collecting all the other Glaminatrix palettes and you're hoping to swap around, you won't be able to do it with Bonfire because it's the bigger pans. I don't know why they've done that. Because I think they used to have the bigger pans and they went down to the smaller pans, and now they seem to be going back to the bigger pans. It'll be interesting to see what size pans will be in the next release. If they're going to stick to the 26mm pans going forward, or if they're going to go back and forth, who knows, I don't know. So I do like this one, I do like this, but I think I'd feel more comfortable. Wicked Widow Beauty, I don't know the formula, but certainly Spooked, I'd probably feel more comfortable with that formula than I would with this Glaminatrix one, just based on what Newport said in her video. I'll try to remember to link her video down below in case this is one that you're eyeing, just because if someone as skilled as Newport is having difficulty, then someone who's perhaps a bit more of a novice might struggle, so that's worth bearing in mind. If money were no object, I'd absolutely buy this palette. I think I would, because I would learn, and I would learn fast. But I don't think I'd want to spend £45 plus £11 postage to get it to me. And so I was about to do a mishmash of Barely Basic and Nearly Natural there, but I bought Nearly Natural, £43. It's now on sale for 30 quid. And I know stuff goes on sale. This is the gauntlet that you run. You buy something and inevitably at some point it will go on sale, especially if you buy it at release. I just wasn't anticipating that it would go on sale this quickly, but it seems they over-ordered when they restocked, so they're trying to get rid of them now. So it's gone from 43 to 30. Bit of a bummer. Cosmic Brushes / Cosmic Beauty. So they haven't released something since The Lovers. That was a Valentine's release in February. We're now in July and they're finally coming out with a new palette, Smolder. And Smolder, to me, is if Beauty Bay Smoky and Beauty Bay Neutral had a baby with a bit of Bougie Boudoir in there. Should I get all three of those palettes out? Yeah, let's do it. Hold that thought. Right, so bearing in mind, I'm going to have a picture of Smolder right here. Makes me think of Flynn Rider there. I'll try to keep the palettes on this side. So that there, looking very washed out. And should I just turn that off a moment? Yeah, there we go, that's better. So that's Bougie Boudoir there. So it's got the same cool colour story, and it's got, so you've got Lucky and Loyal, which I think is quite similar to shades in Smolder. Then you've got the black in there, you've got Regal, which I know it's got a black in that palette. Obviously they're not identical, it's just they're related, I would say. They're definitely related. So the fact that I've got this neutral, God, this is a hefty beast. So that's neutral, so very cool leaning neutral shades. So like those pinky tones and a few of those greys, I think I'd be able to get from here. And look, another black in the corner there. So there's that. And then there's smoky. Smoky, I've used this a fair bit. I mean, it's £42, so you won't be able to tell I've used it a fair bit, but I have. So that's smoky. I've used this more than I thought I would, actually. I mean, obviously when you buy palettes you hope you use them, but there's a lot I've bought that I haven't touched yet, you know, hence why I've got a series called Gem's Basket of Shame. But this I have used a lot. I'm impressed by how much I've reached for that one. Neutral, not so much. I haven't reached for that one. But I just think between the three of these, I do feel I could dupe it. However, there is a shade. Let me put that back on. There is a shade in Smolder called Ignite, which looks beautiful. Am I going? It's scrolling in the right. Yeah. It's this pink to blue to. It's just an incredible shift. It's one of two shifty shades in the palette, so it's Ignite and Embers. So I'm debating. I mean, it's got to be £28, and I guess I could take one for the team and do some comparisons. I've said, you know, how similar it is to Smoky and to Neutral and to Bougie Boudoir. I can do some comparisons for you guys. I can. And on the off chance that I haven't bought it on the live, and you really want me to do some comparison swatches with these three and any other smoky / neutral palettes that I happen to have, just basically let me know. Comment if you want me to get Smolder. I've got a post up in communities asking the question, and if you're watching this and you're thinking, please Gem, get it, do some comparison swatches, because I want to know if it's different enough, I can do that for you. I don't mind. I probably wouldn't have, like, I'm not going to do that for, say, Bella Beauty Bar Unoriginal Nudes. I'm not going to take one for the team on that because it's a bloody expensive palette. Smolder, on the other hand, I can stretch to that, and I will do that happily. So that's Cosmic Brushes, Cosmic Beauty. So that's probably a yes, really. Who am I kidding? I just love. See, the thing with Cosmic Brushes, if they have hit this sweet spot where it's really affordable, especially when you compare it to the other indie brands on the market, but still of a really good quality. I think I'd said everything I wanted to about Cosmic Brushes' latest release, Smolder. So we'll move on to Glamlight's latest collection, and that's featuring someone called Douse, who up until this collab I had never heard of. I still don't really know who they are, but I have since been informed that they're a Latinx star of some sort, perhaps popular on TikTok. I don't know if I'm showing my age here, but as I say, just unfamiliar with their work. This collection, I'm going to say it off the bat, I have no interest in any of it whatsoever. None of it. I'm obviously going to focus on the palette because I'm a palette fiend, but just to give you a rundown, the full PR box collection is $152. The full collection without the PR box is $143. The palette is $35, Snatching Powder $24, Blush $20, DSL Lip Kit $25, Petona Lip Kit $25, Mirror $22, and Mascara $18. I think if I was going to get anything from this collection, it probably would be the palette. Having said that, to me, the palette looks a bit chaotic and all over the place. Now, this could be one of those Gourmand Girls Calavera instances where perhaps if it was arranged differently, I would immediately fall in love, because I wasn't sure about the Calavera palette, but once it was rearranged and I saw it a bit differently, I thought to myself, that's a nice palette actually. I bought it and I really, 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 really like that palette. So that could be the case with this, but I can't be bothered to find out, so it's a hard pass for me. And why have they named a lip kit DSL? It's just very crudely on the nose, wholly unnecessary, and just a big fat no from me. No, not even if money were no object. I don't want any of it. I don't know if product development at Urban Decay do not ever speak to the social media team. And I get it. I work in an organisation where siloing of work sometimes happens, and the left hand has no idea what the right hand is doing. But it just seems really odd to me that Urban Decay has posted about bringing glittery, colourful, fun, bold makeup back, and then have dropped these two palettes consisting of 50 shades of beige. It's a no from me, and I believe they're $56 as well. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not even if money were no object. Not even if someone wanted to give it to me for free. No. I'm precious with my space now. I don't want it. Sugar Rock. I don't believe I have come across these guys before, but they've got these two palettes out called Mystic Mask, which is more of a greeny colour story, and Lunar Lure, which is purpley blue. As you can imagine, these two are right up my street. Thoroughly beautiful colour stories, and my curiosity was piqued. I was looking at the packaging and thinking to myself, that looks like it's quite an experiential type of palette. You're not just buying the shadows here, you are buying the packaging, whether you like it or not. And I don't know if I do like that packaging. I think it might be a bit much. And then I saw the price tag for these beautiful looking palettes, and I did a double take, and my eyes might have watered a little bit, because each palette retails for £112 or $149.99 US dollars. I'll come out and say it, if money were no object, I think I would buy one or both of these, mainly out of sheer curiosity to see if they would be worth that hefty price tag. I think the most I've ever spent on a palette is £100. I think that was, well, it was by Rado, and funnily enough, I'm going to be talking about them shortly. Would I spend $112 on either of these? Not in this universe. In a parallel universe, perhaps, but no. I'm very curious to know if they're worth that price tag. Very curious. Some of the shimmers do look beautiful, but I suspect with the shadows I do have, it's highly likely I could dupe this out. So this would be a no from me, but definitely a noteworthy mention, I feel. Bobbi Brown eyeshadow sticks. I probably could have done a bit more research on this, but quite frankly, I couldn't be bothered. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how old these are. I have a sneaky suspicion that this might be an extension to the range rather than a brand new launch, because it would suck if these were a brand new launch, considering that Danessa has just dropped her Colour Fix sticks, and they are these all singing, all dancing, dual-ended sticks with magnetism in the middle, and you can switch them out. One side is foil, one side is metallic. It would just be really unfortunate to launch these Bobbi Brown sticks after Danessa sticks. Having said that, if you are perhaps someone who's into more subtlety, then the Bobbi Brown sticks might be right up your alley. From what I gather, and I'll be able to tell you about these because I've caved and I've bought some of these, oh dear, but from what I gather, the Danessa sticks give you more oomph, more sparkle, more shimmer, especially the foil sides. The Bobbi Brown ones are $34 or sort of 35, 36 pounds. And the Danessa ones, they're only about $4 more, so $38. And if you're in the UK, you can find them for maybe $41.50 or $42.50. However, for me, on Sephora, Danessa Myricks is my 10% off brand, one of them. So I bought one from there and I had a £5 off voucher. And Cult Beauty often have 20% discounts. They don't always apply to new products, and I was quite surprised because it did apply to the Danessa Myricks Colour Fix sticks. So I bought one from there, and I also had a £5 voucher to use on Cult Beauty. And then I may have bought 3 more, including 2 of the ones that were exclusive to Danessa Myricks website as well. Whoops. Bobbi Brown, I just think it's really unfortunate. To me, I think they'll just be massively overshadowed because Danessa's at it again with her innovation and using magnetism to make makeup fun again. Are you taking notes, Urban Decay? I won't go into this one too much because I imagine that we'll get more information in the coming weeks, but Byredo are finally going to grace us with a big palette. So their 18-pan limited edition palette that they tend to drop one of every year. Last year it came out around March, April time. Absolutely loved this, and so much so that I've been putting money aside for it for this year. So I was ready, March, April time, I was ready and waiting to see what Byredo dropped for us, and they dropped nothing. It seems that rather than having a Easter launch, it's in fact going to be a fall or even holiday release this year. This is a very different colour story, but maybe it kind of looks a bit more like their older ones. Off the top of my head, I want to say Kalahari. Can't remember the other one, but there's a picture here of some of the previous releases. Some would consider this boring. In fact, I asked people on Instagram what they thought, and I'll put them on screen here, some of the thoughts that people shared. But it was pretty unanimous that a lot of people said boring, but probably something that would sell very well. I'm kind of in my neutral era. I will always love colourful shadows, absolutely, but I'm tempted by this. And even though some of the shades look very, very similar, I'm waiting for the swatches to confirm. And if I'm sold on the swatches, because I've already got the money aside, I think this could be one I could get. Pending the swatches, this is a maybe for me. Adept Cosmetics' latest offering is called EBEs, and I didn't know what EBEs are, but I have since discovered that EBE stands for Extraterrestrial Biological Entity. You learn something new every day. This is going to be going for £65 or $79. As you may know, Adept is probably one of the pricier palettes on the market, but they are also known for their very shimmer heavy palettes. So this is 15-pan, 10 shimmers, 5 mattes. I'm a bit meh about the mattes, I'm not going to lie, but I have to say those shimmers do look rather spectacular. I don't think I would get this one, only because this is perhaps a little bit too murky / grungy for me. And I've recently got the Unity palette, and I think for me, Unity is more up my street than something like EBEs. But I've got to give it to EBE. The shimmers and the shifts in those shimmers is incredible. If money were no object, absolutely. Absolutely. However, this is one I'm going to pass on. It could be something that I would pick up later on though, if it were to go on sale. Last but by no means least, and this was actually announced just before I started filming originally on, I think I filmed this on Saturday now. I hadn't had a time to do a deep dive into this at that point, and there weren't too many photos apart from the handful that Blend Bunny and Ellis themselves had shown. And initially I thought to myself I'd get the Cool Tone palette and the Shimmer palette and perhaps forego Smolder. Spoiler alert, I've actually picked up Smolder, and I may pass on the whole Blend Bunny and Ellis Volume 2 collab. I don't think I want any of the matte shades because my preference would be the cool side, but the cool side, there's not enough depth or range in that palette for my liking. I do think Blend Bunny have missed the mark there. There are a lot of grey shades in there, and it misses out all the browns completely. If you're after a brown, they all fall on the warm side, which I think is unfortunate. They really should have put at least 1 or 2 browns on the cool side to balance it out and increase the range. Blend Bunny, to me, are not necessarily a brand known for their shimmers. Not, for example, the way that Adept is, or even like Glaminatrix. Blend Bunny overall have excellent quality, but for shimmers, they're not bad. They're not bad. I think I want to see more swatches, more footage, and then I'll decide. But if I pick up anything, it will only be the shimmer palette. The rest of it, I don't think so. I don't think so. I thought I had the pricing in front of me. It seems that I in fact don't. But off the top of my head, I want to say that the smaller palettes are $22 each. The big palette, which is the 2 smaller palettes combined, are $44 each. And the shimmer palette, $48.50. I mean, I could have plucked that out of my backside. I'm not sure, but that rings a bell. And I would imagine that when it comes to Glisten, because I believe it is coming to Glisten, unlike the Jordan Liberty collection, it's going to be those prices, but in pounds. And if you want to use either an influencer code to get you 20% off or 25% off using Save25, which always seems to be the running promo, you can do that. Lately, I've also noticed that even Blend Bunny is being included when Glisten do 35% off. So maybe sit tight and wait for a 35% promo that's applicable to the new Blend Bunny launch. And that's everything. I'm not going to keep you too long because I appreciate that this format is perhaps not as engaging with me just talking over some pictures. I hope that you have still enjoyed watching this and that you still found it useful. And I also hope to see you again with a working mic in a video in a not too distant future. Take care. Bye.